We have some very interesting videos today for you people. First of all, we're going to be speaking about Ken Jennings replying to Ron Toye on the farms, where Ron has actually tried being the big man as he used to be, and he's saying he's not like that anymore. He doesn't do that anymore. But this just goes to show that he still does it. When push comes to shove, he still brings out the old Ron Toye. We have another one about VM throwing a water bottle. We have the dear girl saying as she apologises. And we also have one regarding the app that the government wants people to download so they can trace you and if you've been infected by the global pandemic. So we're going to start off with the Ken Jennings one. So obviously we've got Ron Toye here saying all of this. Take a moment to watch his video, let me know your thoughts, blah blah blah, and a few things he has said. He said about that this guy is wrong, he's not a real therapist. If so, prove me wrong and post the info here. But the thing is though, every single time anyone has asked Ron to post anything, he hasn't done so. So with that one there, that just goes to show that Ron has nothing to post. Anyway, carrying on. First, because I am not an a-hole, I have broken this up into a few sections marked off with spoilers so I don't wall of text everybody, which is great. So, spoiler, potato microphone incident. So here we go. Sorry for my microphone the other day on Nick's stream. I was really looking forward to talking with him and my mic ended up being damaged, which didn't help. I have ordered a new mic and it will be here shortly and I am reaching back out to Nick to reschedule a time to speak with him. That's good, fair enough. Alright Ron Toye, I hope you have been well. Like I stated, I am responding to your reply to my post. Sorry it is a few days late, life happened and it took quite a while to draft this all up, analyse video and all the other stuff I did in relation to this. So the first one we got is the spoiler VM video analysis per Ron's request. I analysed the video you linked. For an objective analysis, the content of the script can be interpreted as inappropriate. That is the key thing that drives the entire context of that video. It is why the joke about dads wanting to kill him and the asking of the dad being present. Throughout the video, the girl consented to the interaction, although her demeanour was of nervousness. At any moment, the girl could have walked away or batted him away. If someone in that room full of hundreds of people could have went and stopped it, it'd probably be a bit more ambivalent about it if it was a daughter who wanted to do it, but he didn't do anything that I would classify as harmful, dangerous, or severely inappropriate. Reciting a line that was inappropriate doesn't make the interaction itself inappropriate. So you asked, I did analyse the video and I did so with an objective lens. As it relates to his reputation, doing something like that, where most of the room appear to be entertained and okay with the intersection, is completely different than someone being accused of this or this. Other voice actors and minors top it all off with this. They are in no way comparable. In general, I'm usually a very open person in general and about this and this. I've made jokes at my own expense about my interests or previous activities. I've openly talked about my struggles with infertility and dealing with 8 miscarriages, which again, for that I'm so sorry Ken. But just because I make jokes doesn't mean I wouldn't engage in a lawsuit if I was accused of this. Most rational people would, especially if it took away their job and ability to work. So the rationale that this kind of thing and this kind of event activity that was requested by a fan, which it was, we've all seen it, becomes some sort of arrow to the heart of his reputation is a non-starter. It honestly sickens me a bit that you and others have compared him doing stuff like this to actual people who do this. But that is neither here nor there. But your assessment of how this video looks is off base and consistent with my view that you have antisocial personality disorder because you struggle to properly interpret and analyse people's emotions and feelings. And it would only be appropriate that I respond to your reply to me, considering the way you did so. Yes, that is so good of him. That is so true, because everything he has said there is like, yeah, that's right. So, responding to Ron's reply, which is the one we saw about, post the info here. My goal here isn't to sound smart or even convince anyone about my analysis of you. It's simply my understanding of you and your behaviour based on your actions over the last year. Also interesting that you'll ask me to dox myself to prove my experience and background. I'm considering getting verified, but the risk of having someone like you or other people call my place of employment or licensing board because you take issue with my opinions is something I have to consider. Regardless, I am not the only person who has pointed out the same pattern of behaviour or contradictions in your actions. You don't have to believe me, nor does anyone on this forum have to. Seriously, Ron, I'm not here to ruin your reputation or to make you out to be some kind of monster, which he already is because we all know this. Sure, I may poke fun at certain things, but that doesn't change the fact that overall I want you to get the help you need. You can believe me or not, that is your prerogative. That is so funny. And then, we've had a ton of things, obviously, when he's saying about, also you choose, the alt account, which he said there. I chose Ken Jennings at random one day many years ago as a throwaway for some random forum because I had heard or seen his name on TV or on the internet related to his time on Jeopardy. Plus, it's a simple name and easy to remember from making emails and accounts, so that works too. You can forward the info to the real person if they care, that is up to them. I don't see why you would find that necessary, but you do you. That's very true, because with Ron saying, I'm going to tell the real person, it's like, well, okay, do it. Someone could set up an email now with Ron Toye. Doesn't mean that it's the real person. Whatever people put down is up to them. But Ron, being Ron as he is, he's like, I'm going to take charge. I'm going to tell everyone to do what I think is right. But then again, when you look at his actual interview with Cress and Mr. Hopper, it shows you, he's like, when he gets face-to-face with people, Skype or whatever, and he's asked all these questions, he's a bit like, that's a great question. It's like, no, we know exactly what you're like, Ron. As far as my history, I'll make a deal with you. I'll share some of my history if you in return share some of yours in response to my reply. I believe that is fair. It will also help me get a better insight into you, and it also gives you the ability to correct anything wrong I have said. Tell all my clients and families I make mistakes and I can be wrong. Anyway, don't use those mistakes and help improve upon them, so feel free to correct and substantiate anything incorrect I have said. As far as my background goes, I was bullied for a period of time in junior high and high school. I stayed to myself but had a small group of close friends that I would hang out with. I was considered a geek and a nerd at the time. I often had people tell me I wasn't able to accomplish different things in my life, and I always proved them wrong. I served in the military and was discharged honourably. I was a firefighter, EMT for a period before I joined the military. I ended up in this field because I like helping people. Do I like myself 100%? No, because I have room to improve on my own things, which is great. But I am constantly working on them. I know what I want to do in my life. It's why I ended up in the career field I am in. Don't care for fame or fortune, which to me seems that what Ron does, because he kept bragging about, I'm going to buy this 90 grand car, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And he kept saying, it's 90 grand, it's 90 grand. Almost like, how I can afford this, but you can't. Which just goes to show the type of person that Ron really is. To mix with his past bad behaviour, as he calls it, and saying, look what I got, I'm better than you. Typical of a bully. The most important thing I get from what I do is having a client, their parents, or their family thank me for being able to help them. So it goes on from there. So we go on. I am not a therapist of having any formal training on the matter, so we got that one there. Well, Ron, as you stated, you are not a therapist nor have any formal training, so your assumption here is shaky at best. I have completed both a bachelor's and a master's degree, both with a 3.5 GPA or higher. My master's GPA would have been higher, but I had a couple of lower grades due to family member dying during one of the critical semesters, so I had to play catch-up after returning from burying that family member. Throughout this entire response, you have been nothing but dismissive, which Ron always is, whereas if you actually read my post to you, I am doing as much as I can to be supportive of you, which he is. Also, your dismissiveness here about my entire post is contradictory of your own stances on the issues. You state that you are supportive of this, yet you are calling my post some sort of act to make up for failures in my life. I guarantee you would never say that to a woman who is stating they were this. So while you try to dunk on me, you went against your own principles, just like everything else. You can choose to believe me or not regarding my childhood this. But how you hold yourself on this really speaks to your character and personality. Again, he's absolutely killing it, man. He is spanking him like, yeah, I'm going to tell you everything now, mate, and that is it. Now, since you asked me to analysis a video of Ron, I thought it was only fair that I do one of you too. As I did VM's video analysis objectively, I took the same approach in doing yours. Watched the video about twice since I scrubbed back and forth through it to take notes and mark down timestamps. So, this is the last one we got. The overall impression. Your behaviours and statements in the video are contradictory to your statements and actions as of recently and how you're behaving here. Now, you may be putting on a show for the Kiwis because it's easier to respond when you have time to craft a reply, but there's a difference between taking time to generate a better response versus a response that runs counter to your own statements in the interview you did. I don't want to say you were being purposely deceptive on the podcast, but I would say it's likely because the things you were hearing on the podcast were not as anger-inducing as the statements you are hearing on here, which is very true. It's what I was actually saying during the actual videos of the podcast, because what you have VM and saying that nothing happened, you have all these videos and everything else coming out where Ron, being the dictator that he is, going on saying, well, this has happened, you done this, you done that. And on the podcast, he's like, oh yeah, that's a very good question. I'll have to think about that. He even said himself, I shouldn't reply when I'm angry. But he does it anyway, because this is what I said. I said at the end of the last one, all what he said here is completely forgotten, and he'll just carry on being the same person that he always is. So we got that one there. On Crumb's advice. Crumb gave you some very good advice. I don't know their background or history, but they appear to be someone who has gone through enough and have made mistakes and taken the actions to correct them. If you don't want to listen or believe me in any capacity, at least listen to what Crumb is saying. On aggression and aggressiveness. Tension build-up. Where's the release? Related to fighting in person versus online interactions. This is indicative of a learned history of the use of physical aggression or aggression in general, as a means of stress relief, which you admitted to effectively in your interview here because you made the statement that aggressiveness is one of your greatest strengths, but also your greatest weakness. Again, I don't know much about your childhood or anything like that outside the brief mention you made on the podcast. I am open to listening to more about what you said, but outside of that, I don't have much to go on. A common theme here is you continue to state you have changed and are not the same person you were 8 years ago. But when you have for the past 16 months or so been interacting as you have been over this is not indicative of change. I've had to deal with this and I've worked with people who have been this. Not once have I ever wished harm on anyone, nor would I approach this with any type of aggressive demeanour, because nothing is solved through that, especially on a topic so difficult and emotionally charged. You point into the video, your sister suffering this, which is not okay, and I'm sorry she had to go through that, but that you handled that guy quickly, which gave the connotation of some sort of physical altercation or use of aggression, which, as we've heard in the past, that's exactly what he did. He went and found the guy and he supposedly beat him up. You even stated that it's part of your nature of being aggressive, related to your sister's this and the alleged this against Monica. You stated you were stressed when you finally found out about the allegations of VM doing this to Monica. Did you redirect this anger and need to control the situation into the actions you took against him at conventions and the tweets you made online? Was it the only way you had to outline your aggression at the time? You stated back then you wanted to fight him, which again is you relying on your history of using aggression as a means of resolution to your problems. It was used in your previous relationships, although in a more of an emotional mental means, of control against your ex-spouses than anything physical. You continue to use the same method of conflict resolution when you say 8 years after the remote control incidents, you are a changed man. I want to believe you, but you continue to show me and others you have not done that. Yep, you know what? Everything the therapist is saying is just literally round of applause, hats off, you're right. They'll go back to you needing a means to de-escalate when you get elevated. You need to find a better way to monitor your own behaviours, and you desperately need to find a way to redirect that aggressiveness into something more productive. Again, this is why I keep repeating you needed to get a good therapist to help you with this. We have a couple left. On conventions and reputations. You stated at several points in the video you don't want people completely destroyed, you don't want conventions cancelled or boycotted, and that you wanted everyone to stop using hashtags like KV. You state this, but even your actions in the last few months are contradictory to that. If you didn't want his reputation destroyed, why would you keep pushing this 17 affidavits against him when it has been factually disproven some of those are twisted or even pure fiction? as the person making the affidavit was not even present during the alleged convention where this or inappropriate activity took place. If you cared about his reputation, you would ask your lawyer to have the affidavit stricken from the record at the very least, because even you cannot admit with a straight face that at least one of those affidavits does not contain incorrect information. God damn it, I love this therapist. I love him. On control. When you stated you had to respond to people on here and online in general, in response to the host stating you need to stop letting people control you, 100% right, so we got all that there. I am going to skim through these now because the video is going a little bit longer than I wanted, because I didn't actually know it was going to be this long. So we got all that there, say in response, and I'm not using triggers and insult or poke fun at you. So then we got that one there. You also stated the only way you would settle is if VM apologised for the actions of other people. This goes back to your need for control of the entire situation, which is very true. Going back to the Khmer context messages and calls, you wanted control over his ability to earn income. Yet you are stating that you don't want that in an interview. Which one is it wrong? So, positive conversations. That, always open to have a good positive conversation, where your responses on YouTube and here turn into anything but that, which is very true. I even said in my very first post about you that I truly want you to get some help. The antithesis of a positivity, you also say you'd be willing to sit down and meet with VM to talk about this. Then why haven't you offered it the olive branch? Which is very true. We've talked about that for so long. And we're going to go into the conclusion now, because as you can see the conclusion is quite a bit. I probably will read all this out. Conclusion, your behaviours from the last 16 months or so are contradictory to your statements on the podcast. You continue to show aggression as a means of conflict resolution even 8 years after the remote incident, and you stating you are a changed man. You continue to thrive for control over interactions, and are wanting people to take accountability for things they literally have no control over. Your inability to relinquish control over a situation and this constant desire to regain it, which is also characterized in your need to respond to these statements that people make against you. Yet you call out VM and anyone who stands for his cause when they take up his fight. Would he not be able to try and do the same as you? Which is very true. Again, we still don't know if he wants to sue me or not, which is very funny. Ron, answer me, come on. In the end, the interview gave one hell of an insight into your mind, Ron. Combine that with the way you have treated myself and others on here and other platforms, it is not surprising you have drawn such a following. I'll reiterate this for what is likely the 100th time now. I truly want you to get the help you need, but you need to be open to doing so, and your actions are not that of one who is currently open to doing so. I believe you can do so, but it will be a difficult journey. I am still leaning on my initial opinion of you having APD, but I am reconsidering it after the interview. Although I have not narrowed down any of the conditions I would replace it with at this moment, although I do have a few in mind. I do wish the best for you, Ron. You were succumbed by your absolute burning hatred of VM, by slipping grip on the narrative and message you spent hundreds of tweets crafting and months working on. This will come to resolution one way or the other. VM is likely to come out on top even if he loses the appeals process, but your reputation will remain tarnished without some sort of endeavour for actual change. You preach against toxic masculinity, yet have currently emboldened by it and act out daily. Be the change you want others to be. Make the changes you say you've already done, because I can hand off this information to any one of my colleagues and they would be likely to agree with much of my assessment here. Do take care, Ron. Oh my god, that is such a good response. Everything he has said there is fantastic. Literally, everything the therapist has said is 100% correct. Anyone could see that. Everything he has said is what we've been saying over the last year, a lot of us. You can kind of put it all together, and that's what the therapist has said. So, Ron, if you are watching this, which you probably will be, mate, try and listen to the therapist. He knows what's best, because that's what his job is, and that's really it. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for future updates, and I'll see all you wonderful people soon.